This is Omar Nashashibi from Washington, D.C. with an update on the U.S. China trade negotiations. On January 15th, President Trump at the White House signed a Phase 1 trade deal with the Chinese that would hopefully de-escalate a number of the issues that have led to the trade wars over the last 2.5 years between the United States and China. This is what we call a Phase 1 trade deal. It does not affect Lists 1, 2, or 3 tariffs of 25% on over 7,000 products that have already been imposed and under place now for about a year and a half. So this new phase really tries to address the more consumer-oriented goods. As you may recall, Lists 1, 2, and 3 tended to include more industrial manufactured items that were initially placed at 25% tariff. In the fall of 2019, the President expanded the group of items that were subject to tariffs to now focus as well on consumer-oriented goods, as referred to as List 4A and 4B. Most notable, this new Phase 1 agreement will decrease the 15% tariffs on Phase 4A, List 4A tariffs, down from 15% to 7.5% effective 12:01 a.m. on February 14th. So that'll provide at least some relief to those that are imported consumer-oriented goods that appeared on List 1 and have been subject to tariffs now since September. The new Phase 1 agreement covers over 90 pages in 8 chapters, everything from financial services to food and agriculture to industrial goods, and obviously, of course, enforcement. Significantly, the Chinese have committed to over 2 years purchasing $200 billion worth of U.S. goods. This ranges from everything about $77 billion worth of manufactured goods, $32 billion in agriculture, $52 billion worth of energy goods, and another $31 billion worth of other industrial equipment and other issues that might come up. They also specifically do break down a number of segments within the economy, the United States manufactured food and beverage goods, that specifically they want to see the Chinese purchase. This could be very important for manufacturers, distributors, and also those in various other sectors as they look to see how this new Phase 1 agreement will affect them. For example, in addition to increasing purchases of industrial equipment and autos, also fruit and vegetables, specifically broken down everything from on the food side, from seafood to also grains, baked goods, sugars, a number of different specific items that are manufactured or produced and certainly distributed and sold here throughout the United States appear on this list of products. In addition, meats, pharmaceuticals, and of significance to a number of folks, medical devices are also included on the list of items that the Chinese have committed to increase their purchases over 2017 levels over the next coming couple of years. If you go through, speak to your local representative of CLA, they can help you identify your specific item and to see whether or not you have an opportunity to increase your sales over to China, in large part because they are now eliminating or at least suspending through the tariffs that the Chinese are imposing on American imported items. When it comes to enforcement, that is the pretty main reason that the United States began a number of these tariffs, to bring the Chinese to the table. There are some significant commitments when it comes to intellectual property theft, destruction of counterfeit goods, and a new system to quickly adjudicate any disputes that arise. However, both parties do retain the right under this agreement to reinstate or increase any of the tariffs that are currently suspended or have been reduced. So that means the threat of tariffs still will remain in place as the two sides continue to negotiate what we call Phase 2. At the signing, President Trump on January 15th indicated that both sides would immediately begin focusing on the Phase 2 agreement to address a number of the larger, more structural issues such as state-owned enterprises, illegal subsidies to different Chinese companies that have long been a part of the industrial strategy in China for a number of decades now. When we get to Phase 2 still remains uncertain. While the President said negotiations shall begin immediately, he did also previously indicate they likely might conclude following the elections. So for the time being, we do expect the full 25% tariffs on Lists 1, 2, and 3 to remain in place, and List 4A to be reduced to 7.5% worth of suspension on the final 4B that was issued. However, as always, if things do not go as well as the President would like on the Phase 2 negotiations, then we could always see a return to tariffs. So it's always important to keep close contact with folks at CLA and your other representatives, and we'll be happy to help in any way we can to keep you informed.